ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापत्कमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सागणरघुनाथान्वितं सतं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णा पादान् सागणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चना गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर
इतने में फोन आ गया सर।
मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरं गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for joining. So let's start with mantra 17. It's very beautiful. This is another memory verse of Sri Isopanishad and it's actually easy to remember. So let's recite it. Vayur anilam amritam. Vayur anilam
amritam
अथेदं भस्मान्तं शरीरम् अथेदं
अथेदं भस्मान्तं शरीरम्
ॐ कृतो स्मरा कृतं स्मरा ॐ कृतो
कृतो स्मरा कृतं स्मरा
कृतो स्मरा कृतं स्मरा कृतो स्मरा
कृतो स्मरा कृतं स्मरा.
Let's do one more time. वायुरनिलम् अमृतम् वायुरनिलम्
वायुरनिलम् अमृतम्
अथेदं भस्मान्तं शरीरम् अथेदं
भस्मान्तं शरीरम्
ॐ कृतो स्मरा कृतं स्मरा ॐ कृतो
स्मरा कृतं स्मरा
कृतो स्मरा कृतं स्मरा कृतो स्मरा
कृतं स्मरा.
So let me break this down so that you can see how it is easy to remember. So Vayu means air, right? Anilam. Anil also means air. Amritam. Amrit means something that is indestructible or inexhaustible. जिसकी मृत्यु नहीं होती, amritam, without mrityu. So indestructible. Athedam. All this. So he's saying three things, okay? In this whole verse, first line he's saying Vayur Anilam Amritam. So he's saying, let my Vayu or my Pran, my air, be merged into the Anil or the total air of this universe and become inexhaustible. Let it merge into the inexhaustible air of this universe. Athedam. Athedam means all this. Bhasmantam. Bhasm ho jaye. Shariram. Let all this body be burnt to ashes. Bhasm hone do. Let this body be burnt to ashes. Second thing. So first thing he said, let my bodily air or life air, my pran, be merged into the totality of the air of this creation, inexhaustible air of this creation. मेरे प्राण इस दुनिया के हवा में, air में mix हो जाए. And let my body be burned to ashes. Bhasm ho jaye, this sharir. Athedam, all this shariram, this body. Then if you see, he says the same thing twice. Okay? He says krito smara, kritam smara twice. So this has to be something very important that he's saying it twice. And he's calling out to Lord. When he's saying Om, whenever we say Om, we are calling out to the Lord. So he's saying, oh my Lord, Om, Krito. And the reason we know he's calling out not to just Omkar, like the impersonal Lord, he's calling out to the Supreme Bhagwan because he calls him Krito. Krito refers to the Lord. Krito means somebody who is the supreme enjoyer, who is the supreme beneficiary of everything. Okay. So he says, oh my supreme Lord, Smara, please remember. What should you remember? Kritam, all that I have done for you. Then he again says, please remember. Like something is very important to me, so I keep telling you, please remember, please remember. Like I send Avni to bring something, bring my laptop. I'll say, Avni, please remember. Then again I remember her. Again I remind her, please remember. Then not only he stops, he says it twice more. Oh, my Supreme Lord, my Supreme Beneficiary, please remember. What should you remember? All that I have done for you, please remember. Oh, my Supreme Lord, my Supreme Beneficiary, please remember. All that I have done for you, please remember. So now with this understanding, three things he's saying. Let my body air be merged into the total air. Let my body be destroyed to ashes. And please remember everything that I have done for you in this life. Okay. So let's read the translation. Can somebody read it?
Hare Krishna. Let this temporary body be burnt to ashes, and let the air of life be merged with the totality of air. Now, O my Lord, please remember all of my sacrifices, and because you are the ultimate beneficiary, please remember all that I have done for you.
So this verse is very unique, okay? This is very unique because the devotee is dying, okay? Or he's ready to leave his body. Some situation, it's some kind of situation where he's leaving his body or wants to leave his body. And so these two lines seem appropriate that, this body, which is made of material elements, will go back into this matter only. We know that. The body is made of 5 material elements and the material world is made of 5 material elements. So all the life air will go into the air of this universe and the material elements will go into the material elements of this universe. We know all that. But this is what is unique about this verse, that he is saying to the Lord, please remember all my sacrifices, kritam, मैंने आपके लिए जो भी किया है. Then he again says, please remember all that I have done for you. Okay. So now let's meditate on this deeply. So we all understand that when we are leaving our body, we need to focus on Supreme Lord. We know that. How can you substantiate that with a verse from Bhagavad Gita? What is the benefit of focusing on? Yes, go ahead, Abhi.
It's from chapter 8. Antakale cha mameva smaran mutva kalevaram yaprati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samsaya.
Can you tell
One
me?
who takes his last breath, focusing on me and remembering me, then certainly he will attain my abode.
Yes, perfect, right? Okay, so we understand this devotee, this particular devotee in this verse. I'm not talking about, please remember, I'm not talking about a perfect, pure devotee. We are talking about this particular devotee in Sri Isopanishad. He has come to this understanding that the body is temporary, body is material. This will go away. This needs to just merge into the matter. But somehow, law, I need to remember the Lord, and Lord needs to remember me at the time of death. So he knows this. He knows that my consciousness needs to be focused on the Supreme. So he understands the chapter 8 of Bhagavad Gita, that in the end, I should leave my body with my consciousness focused on the Supreme Lord, with perfect consciousness, so that I can go back to Godhead, so that I can go back to the abode of Supreme Lord. Because Krishna is sure that whoever leaves their body thinking of me will come back to me. And if then in the next verse he says, if you think of somebody else or something else, some other object, some other desire, some other attachments, then you will attain that particular destination. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam. Can somebody decide? Go ahead.
Papi sparam bhavam yajitayante kalevaram tam tameveti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavita.
Can you tell the meaning?
Yes, so whatever one remembers at the time of death, that is the destination he will receive in his next life.
Perfect. So this was verses 8.5, 8.6, chapter 8, Bhagavad Gita, attaining the supreme. कि भगवान की प्राप्ति कैसे कर सकते हैं? How can you attain the supreme? You should, at the last minute, you should think of the supreme Lord and you should leave your body thinking of the supreme. So we know this. Now, the problem here is in this verse is that this particular devotee is reminding Krishna of his services. So in purport, Prabhupada mentions that when we are leaving our body, yes, we should be in spiritual consciousness. We should be trying to focus our mind on Supreme Lord, but we do not need to offer such prayers and remind Lord of our services. We don't need to be reminding Lord of our sacrifices. You know, I was chanting 16 rounds every day. Please remember, start noting down in your diary. Please remember that I did this or did that for you. This much books I distributed, whatever. Is that the mood of a devotee when they're leaving the body, that they're recounting their services or telling the Lord to remind Lord of their services? No. So this particular verse, we should understand this is not a pure devotional prayer. Okay. This is a mid-level prayer, because Upanishads are typically gyan literatures. Like they don't take you to the level of pure bhakti. They come in the interim. Like they are as if it's a ladder, they are not the destination. They are the middle rung or somewhere one of the rungs of the ladder. They are not the topmost. Okay, topmost is Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam will not in that you will not see devotees reminding Supreme Lord of their services. In fact, when Parikshit Maharaj was going to leave his body, he just focused his mind on the Supreme by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Similarly, when Bhishma Pitama was leaving his body, he was focusing his mind by offering prayers to the Supreme Lord. And actually, I have those verses here. So this is Bhishma Pitama. He's look at how he's offering prayers to the Supreme Lord, looking at Krishna. He's focusing his mind on Krishna. He's saying, may he, Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead who awards salvation, be my ultimate destination. On the battlefield, he charged me as if angry because of the wounds dealt by my sharp arrows. His shield was scattered and his body was smeared with blood due to the wounds. So he's remembering the lovely form of the Lord that Lord has shown him in the battlefield. He's remembering that form, how he was driving the chariot of Arjuna, how there were wounds on his body from the arrows, how there was, how his uttariya, his upper cloth was dirty because of the dust flying on the battlefield. At the moment of death, let my ultimate attraction be to Sri Krishna. I concentrate my mind upon the chariot driver of Arjuna, who stood with a whip in his right hand and a bridle rope in his left, who was very careful to give protection to Arjuna's chariot by all means. Those who saw him on the battlefield attained their original forms after death. Let my mind be fixed upon Krishna, whose motions and smiles of love attracted the damsels of Vrajdham, the gopis. The damsels imitated the characteristic movements of the Lord after his disappearance from the Rasa dance. So he's remembering various forms of the Lord. Then if you keep reading Bhishma Pitama's prayers, then he's thinking of his form during Rajsuya Yagya, how he looked at that time. Because, Bhishma Pitama was very fortunate. He got to see Krishna at different times in different, in the Yagya, in the Dwarka ruling the kingdom, in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and when he would visit them in Hastinapur. So he has many, many memories of Krishna, and he's forcing his mind to focus on Krishna. So that's the mood of a pure devotee. So Prabhupada is not recommending us to offer such prayers where we remind Lord of our services. What do you think? These services that you are doing for Supreme Lord, do you think he remembers or no? Do you think we need to make a list for him, make a CV, or application or like a resume, you know how you make your resume for a job application, right? I have done this, I have done this graduation degree, post-graduation degree, these many awards I got. Do we need to create like a spiritual resume and hand it to Krishna before he allows us entry into the dham? Before we get our spiritual body? No. Do you think Krishna remembers our services? Right? So Krishna remember, in fact, you may forget with age, you may forget what all you did for Krishna, but Krishna remembers even slightest of the services. He never forget. We may forget, world may forget, people may forget, but Krishna does not forget. So that's the Lord's mood. He's so, we think we are devoted to the Lord. Lord is more devoted to his devotees. Lord is very attached to his devotees. So he does not, and he's absolute. He's infinite. So he does not have limited intelligence or memory like us, right? So he remembers even slightest of services that we did for him. We don't need to remind him. Other than that, what else do you think is the mood of a pure devotee? Let's hear from everyone. When a pure devotee is leaving their body, what is their mood? Okay, not leaving the body. When they're doing services, you know that a devotee is always engaged in services, right? Their services are unmotivated, uninterrupted. Those are the two aspects of pure devotional services. A hetuki, meaning there is no hetu or cause or reason to do like no personal motivation, no ulterior motivation to do a service. There is no hetu. It's called a hetuki service. And these services are apratihata, meaning they are uninterrupted. So unmotivated and uninterrupted services is what a devotee, pure devotee is engaged in. Is that everybody understands? Can somebody quote that verse which says this, that a pure devotee is engaged in causeless service or unmotivated service, consistent service? It has to be consistent, not interrupted. Causeless and seamless, without any seams.
It's in Kunti Maharani prayers, right?
No.
No. Okay.
So the verse is Savaipa. Yes, you're reciting?
No, I don't remember it. I just remember the last line.
Vedhi was reciting. I was waiting to hear from her. Okay, I'll recite. Savai pumsa paro dharmo yato bhaktir adhokshje ahetuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. So the bhakti should be ahetuki apratihata, unmotivated or causeless, and uninterrupted, meaning consistent or seamless. Okay. And what is the only motivation for the service? To please the Lord, to satisfy the Supreme Lord, right? Out of spontaneous love, the service is done. So service is not done in a mood that at some point मैं उसको bargain की तरह use करूंगा. That I did this for you, now you do this for me. So that's not the mood of a pure devotee. That's more like a Gyan Mishra or Karm Mishra Bhakti, where we want some results, where we want some benefit, some benediction. So we keep a count of our services so that we will remind when the time comes. उसको हम use करेंगे tool की तरह, हथियार की तरह. So that's not the mood of a pure devotee. They're doing it out of spontaneous love to please the Supreme Lord, to satisfy the Supreme Lord, for his pleasure, for his enjoyment, with love, with surrender. Can anybody quote an example? It's now, this is not in any way, this particular verse is not in any way, we're not condemning it. It is a stepping stone. We are just saying it is not the topmost bhav. But can you give a similar example from scriptures? Very famous and very funny example where a devotee reminded Lord that I have done this for you, now you do this for me. There are many such examples, but there is one very funny.
I can remember one.
Yes.
I can think about the Kevat.
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. Yes, can you mention?
Yeah, so when the Kevat was when Lord Ram was at the banks of the river Sarayu, and he had to cross it, and with Mother Sita and Lakshman. Then he asked the person who drives the boat, that's called as a Kevat, the boatman, to take him across. And it was a funny kind of scenario because he first said that, no, Lord Ram, you can't touch my boat. My boat is made up of wood. And I've heard that with Ahilya, when you touched a stone, she became a woman. And if you touch my boat, which is made up of wood, what if it becomes something else? And then that's my way of livelihood. So let me wash your feet first. So that was his kind of way to get the chance to wash Lord Ram's feet. And then later he says that because and then when Lord Ram afterwards tries to give him something in return of his service of taking them across the river, he says, no, 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 I won't take this meager amount that you're giving me, or this
Ring.
he's giving
He's
his
giving his
food or
ring.
something. Yeah. But he said, I won't take this meager amount. Just like I have helped you cross this river, you help me cross the ocean of, this, what we say, this ocean of,
Bhavsagar.
yeah, this Sansar,
मैंने
Mahasagar.
तुम्हें बोट में राइड दी, तुम मुझे ये भवसागर क्रॉस करवाओगे. So it's just a funny example, but that's not why services are done to use as a bargaining tool. That please remember and take me to your abode. Like, okay, I've done this much. Ab leke jao. No. So what is the mood of a devotee? The mood is first of all to please the Lord. Secondly, pure devotee leaves his destination up to the Lord. Okay, he accepts whatever Lord decides for him. Maybe I still need to take another birth. Maybe I still need more purification. Maybe I need to advance more, So whatever destination Lord has decided, that is the mood of surrender or of shelter. That you are, my supreme well-wisher, my best friend. So you know what is best for me. So you will give me my best destination, which is appropriate for my spiritual advancement, for my progress. That is the path of Bhakti Yoga, where we are under direct shelter and protection of the Lord. We don't make arrangements artificially for our death. You remember in chapter 8 that arrangements were mentioned, that if you leave your body in the path of light, in the path of darkness, right? If you leave in the daytime, if you leave in Uttarayan, or if you leave in the Gaur Paksh the uh, of the waxing moon, right? When the moon is increasing, waxing moon of fortnight, or when you leave your body when the fire deity is the presiding deity, then you go to the Brahma Jyoti. But if you leave your body in the path of darkness was when the is the presiding deity, when it's night time, when it's Dakshinayan, when it's the fortnight of the waning moon. If you leave your body, then you go to moon. So mystic yogis, all these other type of yogis make arrangements to leave their body in those particular times, depending on where they want to go. But Bhakti Yoga, that's why this path is a path of shelter and surrender and mercy, because we depend on the mercy of the Lord, that He will decide where we need to go next. So that's why Krishna says, even in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, that okay, I'll come back to this. But he says in chapter 8 Bhagavad Gita that you don't need to worry about these particular paths. This is not meant for devotees. For devotees, you just leave it up to me, and you don't need to make these artificial arrangements, right? You just surrender unto me. And ultimately, he says, do not worry, ma shucha, I will decide where you go. So Krishna knows what is best for our advancement. We may get a next birth. We may need to go somewhere else into a different body. We may need to just serve some more time before we go to the spiritual world, before we get a spiritual body, right? So Krishna deals with different devotees appropriately according to their level of advancement and their level of purification. Lekin another aspect of this understanding is that pure devotee will be happy going wherever Krishna sends him. Okay, wherever Krishna, he's not even asking for going back to Godhead. He's saying, wherever you think my service is needed, send me there. So there is another beautiful verse that comes in Srimad Bhagavatam. Narayana para sarve na kutaschan bhibyati swarga narka apvarga api tulyartha darshana. That for devotees, whether they go to Swarg, Nark, or to this material world, to this Bhulok again, it is all the same. Api tulyarth, it is all the same. They treat it all equally. So he will accept whatever Lord decides for him. So, so one of the understanding is, number one, we do our services with the intention to please the Lord, to satisfy the Lord, not to use it as a bargaining tool. Okay. Number two, when the time of death comes, our goal is to focus the mind on Supreme. Okay, we follow in the footsteps of not this devotee, we follow in the footsteps of Parikshit Maharaj, who was hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. We follow in the footsteps of Bhishma Pitama, who was looking at the Lord and remembering his pastimes. We follow in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who was till the last minute on his dictaphone narrating and translating Srimad Bhagavatam. So these are the devotees. This is the art of leaving the body. These are the devotees whose footsteps we follow, who focus their mind on Supreme. So now the next question comes, how can one focus the mind on Supreme? It is easy to do this, to just recount our services to the Lord. Maine ye kiya, maybe I should start maintaining a journal, ye, and then I will have it ready at the end time. This seems easier. Focusing the mind on Supreme seems difficult. So what do we have to do? How can we focus the mind on Supreme at the end? Do you think at the when the death comes, our mind will go towards Supreme? Let's say regular ordinary person who does some ritualistic activities but not really connected to Supreme. They're spending most of their time absorbed in this material world and in fruitive activities, sense gratification, a lot of worldly affairs. They're immersed in all of that. So what do you think will come to their mind at death? Do you think their mind will gravitate towards Supreme Lord? Will they get the remembrance of Supreme Lord? No, Avni and Vedya shaking their head. What will come to their mind?
They'll probably be thinking about like maybe their family members, or maybe like their will, that if they've written it out, and like what will happen to all my possessions and stuff like that.
Yeah. So whatever they were attached to in this life, right? Whatever their desires were, some unfulfilled desires, some attachments, some attractions they had, all those things is what their mind will gravitate to. So materialistic person will have to depend on the whims of his mind for next destination. Actually, Srimad Bhagavatam in if you want to know more about this, in fourth canto, chapter 29, there is a very beautiful conversation of Narad Muni with the Purarava or Puranjana, something like that. And there Narad Muni tells him that you are completely dependent on your mind for your next destination. Your mind is that subtle element that will decide where your soul will go to. So your subtle body will decide your next destination, because whatever impressions you gathered in this life, whatever impressions have been accumulated and gotten organized in your mind, that combination of impressions will transfer your soul to the next body. So you will get your next destination, next body, based on your mind's whims. But we don't want to depend on our mind's whim. That's why a bhakti yogi, what will they do? So you all recited 8.5, 8.6. Now who can recite 8.7 to tell me what a bhakti yogi needs to do to remember Krishna at the end? So 8.7, 8.5, 8.6, 8.7. Let me see if I can open it here. Yes, Avni. Go ahead. I'll go ahead.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmarayutya cha mayarpita mano buddhir
Mam evasya. Mam
mam
evasya.
I'm forgetting.
Samshaya. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyascha mayi arpita mano buddhir mam evasyati samshaya. So that means that tasmat sarve. So first he says antakale cha mameva. In the end, whoever leaves their body in my consciousness, in spiritual consciousness, remembering me, they will come to my abode. Then he says, in which this one, the law of last thought, that in whichever consciousness you leave, that object you will achieve, that particular destination you will achieve. Then he says, so if you want to come to my abode, then spend your whole life, tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, at all times, think of me. Work with me in your mind and keep your mind and intelligence engaged in me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. At all times. Ma manusmara yuddhyascha. Do your work, your job, your battle, everything remembering me. So at all times, do your work remembering me. Mai arpita mano buddhir. Give your mind and intelligence up to me. So all this that we are doing in life, whether our prescribed duties, professional duties, everything, do those keeping me in mind, engaging your mind and intelligence in me. Mam evashyasi asamshaya. You will achieve me. Of this, there is no doubt. So he promises that if you spend your whole life, your mind, your intelligence, your senses engaged in me, then you will achieve me. Of this, there is no doubt. So this is the path of Krishna consciousness, that to have the last thought of Krishna, to have last thought in spiritual perfect consciousness and achieve Krishna, you have to spend your life remembering Krishna. You have to engage your mind, intelligence, senses, ego, everything in service of Krishna. So, and that is how you will achieve the last remembrance of Krishna. Otherwise, ordinary people, if you're not spending your life living a life of Krishna consciousness, you cannot remember Krishna at the last moment. It is not possible. Whatever you have spent your life doing, that is what will come to you at the end. It is not possible to remember Krishna without spending a life in Krishna consciousness. And it's not that the whole life has to be spent in Krishna consciousness, but at least if you can purify your consciousness, however you can purify your consciousness within a moment, within a year, within a few months, within a few years. There have been examples in scriptures where somebody perfected their life and achieved pure consciousness within a moment. So you can, there are people who quickly advance. Within a few months, they become very advanced. They purify their consciousness. So it just depends on how you have purified your consciousness and your subtle body by engaging it. How quickly you purify, you can achieve Krishna consciousness at the time of death and go to his abode. So who can tell me, how do you purify your mind? He says, Mai arpita mano buddhir. How do you arpit your mind? What is the easiest process or best process to engage your mind? Yes, Vedi.
Chanting?
Chanting, yes. So by chanting of Lord's names, you can engage your mind, right? How do you purify your intelligence? Mai arpita mano buddhir. Let's see if somebody else can answer. Who else? Sheetal Mataji. Go ahead, Nagarchan, we want.
By reading the scriptures, sorry.
By reading scriptures, you can engage your intelligence. You can purify your intelligence by reading, hearing scriptures and spiritual discourses, right? So by hearing Harikatha, you can engage your intelligence and purify it. So, Mai arpita mano buddhi. Now, how can you purify your senses? Who will answer that? Okay, Avni you have answers to all the questions. I'm trying to get other folks to, other devotees to answer. Yes, Nagarchan Prabhu.
By engaging them in the services of Krishna.
By engaging them in services, yes. So senses can be purified by engaging in services, right? Mind can be purified by chanting. Intelligence can be purified by hearing scriptures, reading scriptures. And how about ego? False ego. It's a very important question. Let's see who can. Prabhupada used to say this a lot. If you have to purify your ego, what do you do? Yes, Vedhi.
Wouldn't it also kind of be like doing small menial services that you can't,
Yes.
that you don't
Yes.
take credit?
Sure.
Book distribution.
Yes. But what does all of this have in common? Whether you say book distribution, whether you say small menial services, how is false ego getting purified? I want you to build on it more. How is false ego getting purified?
It's like making you like humble, you know, like you're like all
Yes.
getting down and like doing these small things that like nobody's noticing, but it makes you very humble and
Okay.
you listen.
Yes. And what about book distribution? How is that purifying the false ego? Same thing? Is it same? There is one word for that.
Times people don't listen to you. So, usually it is like, I am important. And they're like, you're just humbling, going in front of people and putting yourself in harm's way in a way that
Rejection.
nobody may pay
Rejected.
attention to you, say something wrong to you, or people are
Yes, being rejected, right? Rejection is what humbles a person. But this is what Prabhupada used to say. You all are right. You all are right. Menial services, book distribution. But this is the crux of the matter. This is what Prabhupada used to say. Association of devotees. Devotees will purify you because you have to cooperate with devotees. So spending time with devotees, they will purify you because you will have to get along with them. Even if you don't agree on some things, you will have to agree because we have to cooperate for the sake of Prabhupada. So this is what Prabhupada used to say. This is his answer. All your answers are correct, but ultimately the foundation of all the answers is humility. Is basically not to keep yourself in center, but devotees or Krishna in center. Keeping Krishna in center is easy. Saying that I abide by scriptures is easy, but abiding by devotees is harder. Okay, this is, if you had to take one lesson, take this lesson from today, that people will surrender to Krishna more easily than they will surrender to devotees. But Krishna is looking at your surrender to devotees. So Krishna cares about that. He does not care that you're surrendering to him. He actually wants you to surrender to devotees. So this is some of the things to understand. People that may be hiding a lot of pride and arrogance and false ego in their heart will still be able to surrender to Krishna, because after all, Krishna is declared Supreme Lord. But who are you? Why should I surrender to you? When you have that humility that you can surrender even to the newest devotee of your community, of your organization, of your temple, then your false ego is purified. So false ego is purified by association of devotees, by getting along and cooperating with them. So that's why Prabhupada used to say that people who are operating independently, they have a lot of pride because they don't want to work with devotees. So working with devotees means your ego is getting purified. So something to think about. So tasmat sarveshu kaleshu ma manusmara yuddhesha. Going back to our point that we have to spend our whole life in Krishna consciousness, only then we will be able to think of Krishna at the last moment. So, okay, now tell me, and I think all of you know the answers to this, but there are many answers possible to this question. So for pure devotee, we said it is not important that they recount their services to the Lord. It is not necessary to remind Krishna. He already remembers. You understand this point, right? And we also said that pure devotees will be able to effortlessly remember Krishna, right? So let's say they are not able to remember Krishna because they're in such a state of mind, their senses, their intelligence is very confused, very diseased at the time, they're in coma, or they have had a very sudden accidental death where there was no time to think of Krishna, or they were suffering from a very chronic long-term problem, not able to think of Krishna. So then how will Krishna come to their remembrance at the last minute or at the last few minutes? Like Prabhupada was able to translate Srimad Bhagavatam, Parikshit Maharaj was able to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhishma Pitama was able to look at Krishna and think of his pastimes. But what if we have a certain bodily condition where we are not able to think of Krishna, where we are very afflicted, our mind and senses is not cooperating? So despite having served Krishna all our life, at the last moment, we are not able to think of Krishna. What can be done? What will happen then? Who can answer?
Mataji, Krishna declares that, boldly declared that my devotee never perishes. So
Yes. Very bold. 3 times very bold.
yeah.
Very bold, very bold, very bold. Wonderful, Mataji. That's amazing. Yes. So Krishna says, my devotee, he is promised, my devotee never perishes.
Yeah.
So how can this person go anywhere else but spiritual abode? And Krishna says in Varaha Puran, he says, Yadi vatadi doshena madbhakto mam cha smaret aham smarami madbhakta nayami paramagatim. He says, Yadi vatadi doshena, because of some bodily dosh, bodily disturbance, madbhakto mam cha smaret, my devotee is not able to remember me. Aham smarami madbhakta, I will remember my devotee Nayami Paramagatim, and he will achieve the Paramgati, the supreme abode. So he declares, so Mataji quoted very wonderfully that Krishna has promised that my devotee can never fall down. So this devotee who has spent his life in selfless service, taking shelter of Krishna all his life, he will not go astray. He will go back to the Supreme Lord. Krishna says, I will remember him. So the first point is pure devotee knows that he will effortlessly remember Krishna's lotus feet, so he does not need to make a list. Okay. So everybody listen to this carefully. Why we do not need to make a list of our services? Number one, pure devotee. If we become a pure devotee, we know that we will remember Krishna effortlessly. Unlike materialistic people, we will be able to remember Krishna if we have spent our life in Krishna consciousness. That's agreed. If we live our life in Krishna consciousness, we are guaranteed that we will effortlessly remember Krishna. Secondly, even if we are not able to remember, Krishna said, I will remember you. Okay. Okay, we don't even know about Krishna. I don't know if he'll remember me. Maybe my services were not great. Forget that. Okay. I have full I have full faith. If I cannot remember and my services were not enough for Krishna to remember me, I know that Avni, Vedahi, Nagarchand Prabhu will be doing kirtan at the bedside. So other devotees will force the remembrance. Is that true? Other devotees will force the remembrance of Krishna even if we are not able to remember him. So we don't know about Krishna. We don't know if we will be able to effortlessly remember Krishna, but I do not need to make a list of my services because other devotees will force the remembrance, right? And of course, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also that I will force the remembrance upon the devotee. He has said that I give the remembrance and the forgetfulness. So if he decides, he will give me the remembrance, right? He will arrange devotees to be around us and remember him. So we have many assurances. Okay, if we live life in Krishna consciousness, we will effortlessly remember him. Krishna will remember us. Devotees will remind us. And Lord also assures that my devotee never falls down and I give the remembrance. So we have many promises, many assurances, many verses from Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And so we do not need to do our services with the intention of bargaining with the Lord at the end. We do our services with the intention of just pleasing him, just pleasing the devotees, and just for the devotees' enjoyment, for the enjoyment of Krishna. So these are some of the things. Let me just review this PowerPoint very quickly, and then we'll wrap up. So in this verse, devotee is saying, please remember my services. And he says that many times. And he calls Krishna Krito, that you are the supreme enjoyer of all these sacrifices, which means that I have done all these services for you. So please remember everything that I've done for you. So he knows that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, but still he is, asking for something in return, basically. And then, so this is not like again, I said, like, this does not need to be condemned completely. This is the bhav of a simple, innocent devotee. You can say like a neophyte who understands the basic principles. He wants to go to the Lord, but he's not as sure as a pure devotee will be. So he is like a Mishra Bhakti. He has Gyan or Karma type of Mishra Bhakti. His bhakti is where he's desperate to go to Krishna, but he's not sure if he'll be able to, he qualifies to go to Krishna or not. So this is a desperate attempt to ask Krishna for, remembrance, that please, you remember my services. I really want to come to you. So he's desperate here, but it is not a pure devotional prayer. So he understands that he needs to leave this body and material world and go to the Supreme Lord. He's reminding Lord of his services and sacrifices, but we know that if there is no such reminder, Lord does not forget. We do not need to remind Lord of the various rituals, various offerings, various rules and regulations that we followed, this many rounds we chanted, this many do's and don'ts. We don't need to sing our own glories to the Lord at the end. He comes, you can see in this, he comes to save the devotee from the Bhav Sagar. And our main business is to just force our mind to think of Krishna during our life, so that when the death comes, when death approaches, we will be able to automatically remember the Supreme Lord. So then if we think of Krishna all the time, then we get entry into his abode. This is the mood of living, to focus on Krishna. at the end. And this also is a very beautiful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Nottama Shloka Vartanam, that people who engage in the Hari Katha of Uttam Shloka or of Sri Hari, Jushtam Tat Kathamritam, who enjoy, who relish this Kathamritam, Syat Sambramo Antakalepi. So they are not Syat Sambramo, even though they may be bewildered. Bewildered meaning even though they may have confusion at the end time. Smartam Tat Padambujam. Even then they will be able to remember Krishna's lotus feet. So those who engage their life, who spend their life in talking about Krishna, hearing about Krishna, relishing his pastimes, they will be easily able to remember Krishna's lotus feet at the Antakalepi, at the end time, even though end time is so difficult, so bewildering, so difficult for the senses and mind, even then such a person can achieve Krishna's lotus feet. Then this tells you the situation of different people, that different people are just controlled by their mind. And since their mind is attached to the bodily affairs, worldly activities, they go to those places. So they still keep circulating in the cycle of birth and death. But devotees who develop love for Krishna, they purify their consciousness, they engage their mind, intelligence, and senses, they cannot forget Krishna at the time of death. This is Bhishma Pitama's prayers. So this should be our mood at the time of death if we can achieve. Now this is a very beautiful verse from Mukundamala Stotra. At some point we should read Mukundamala Stotra. It is King Kulshekar's prayers, or it was composed by King Kulshekar, who you may know is one of the Alvars. King Kulshekar was one of the Alvars, South Indian, Tamil Alvars. So he, in his prayers, he said, "O Lord Krishna, at this moment, let the royal swan of my mind enter the stem of the lotus of your feet. How will it be possible for me to remember you at the time of death, when my throat will be choked up with mucus, bile, and air?" So it is said that death is a very difficult time. It is very painful. Some of the scriptures actually describe the pain that one feels at the time of death. It's like thousands of scorpions biting you at the same time. So in this much pain, it is not possible for the mind to think of Krishna. So this is King Kulshekar asking, how will I remember you at the time of death when my throat is choked up with all this? So it's very difficult, but we have understood that there are many ways. Either Krishna will remember us, or devotees will remind us, or we may be able to remember him based on our life of Krishna consciousness. Krishna will force the remembrance. And this is the verse that Agnivedas are quoting, that you have to spend your life in Krishna consciousness. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu, in all times, ma manusmara yuddhascha, mai arpita mano buddhir, ma mevashyasi asamsha. So I think we can pause here or stop here. Let's take some reflections on this. I thought it was a very wonderful verse, because a devotee has a very different mood where he's telling Lord, please remember, and he keeps saying this, Om Krito Smara Kritam Smara, please remember, my Lord, all that I've done for you. But Prabhupada refutes this in the purport, and the teachers whom I heard for this class, they also say the same thing, that our concern is to just remember Lord at the time of death and spend life in purifying the consciousness. Then automatic remembrance will come. So our Guru Maharaj says, keep the transcendental vibrations going. If the transcendental vibrations are continuously going, kabhi chanting kar rahe ho, kabhi hearing kar rahe ho, kabhi reading kar rahe ho, kabhi services kar rahe ho, kabhi kirtan kar rahe ho, the transcendental vibrations are going in one form or the other, then they will keep going on even at the end time. Right? And those transcendental vibrations will carry you to the feet of the Lord. Otherwise, your other desires and attachments will be prominent in your remembrance. So keep the transcendental vibrations going. Okay, who wants to share from this? Nagarchan Prabhu, Ravi Prabhu, Sheetal Mataji, anyone wants to add, correct?
Hare Krishna, thank you. I think this is a very important class and discussion. And we were actually just as you know, I'm here in Australia. My Mamaji was actually asking me the other day the same question. So I'm sitting with him, and we were all hearing this together, because I was trying to explain some of the things, but I think this summarizes all of it. So thank you. And then I also saw a picture of Bharat Maharaj that you didn't point out earlier. So that showed the deer and Bharat Maharaj. That at the time of death, Bharat Maharaj was he was a pure devotee, but level of bhakti, was at the level of bhakti. But then he remembered he was in the forest and doing his bhajan. But then he saw a small doe who was whose mother had died. So he thought, how will anybody else take care of it? So he started taking care of that little child of a deer, and that was the only thing that was around him at the time, and he got attached to it, taking care of it over time. And then at the time of death, he remembered that, oh, who will take care of this when I'm gone and all this. And then he actually had to take another birth. So this is another story from Srimad Bhagavatam that tells us that it's very, very difficult for somebody, even in Bhav Bhakti, who's sitting in forest and chanting the names. When such a person can get distracted, it's very easy for us to get distracted from the chanting and hearing. So again, association of devotees is very very important, and that's also an example that is given that why Sankirtan is more important in this Kali Yuga than even secluded bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Ravi Prabhu, please share.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam. First of all, happy Guru Purnima. Please
Happy
accept
Guru
our
Purnima.
gratitude for helping us to understand the meaning of life. Mataji,
आपको भी happy Guru
मैं
Purnima.
आपका क्लास I was listening to the class last week का. I was listening last night and I was reflecting after that. और आज आपने उसके आगे का श्लोक पढ़ा because I didn't know. I was thinking in my head. I was comparing the devotee who was asking God to remove the effulgence so he can see him. And then I was reflecting about Arjun. Arjun had already qualified himself so much that Bhagwan ने बोला कि तुमको कुछ बोलना mental vision देख करके you will see me. But here I thought, okay, why this devotee is not like Arjun, like Bhagwan himself will give him the transcendental vision. So, he doesn't even have to ask for remove the effulgence so I can get the thing. But this is just in my mind came. So that's what one of the thing I said, okay. So now today's class, that second sloka was followed that, okay, that still tells that, okay, this devotee or whoever is this praying to God, he is in the bhav of bhakti, but he's still little bit behind. I can think in my word vocabulary from Arjun, like devotee who was just blessed without asking, he got to see everything by transcendental vision. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Yes, Prabhuji. This devotee is more like Gyan or Karma Mishra Bhakti. So, one of the characteristics of pure devotional service as given in Nectar of Devotion or Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is Anyabhilashita Shunyam Gyan Karmadi Anavritam Anukulena Krishnanu Sheelanam Bhaktiruttama. So Anyabhilashita Shunyam. There should not be any other desires, and it should not be mixed with Gyan or Karma. Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. Then those people's bhakti is uttama. Sheelanam bhaktir uttamam. So this person seems to pure devotees do not even have the desire to go back to the abode of the Supreme Lord. They say, wherever you put me, that's what I will accept, because they're completely surrendered. They don't worry about their next destination. Whatever Krishna has arranged is fine. So that is the benefit of surrender to Lord. Lord decides for you and makes the best arrangement. You do not have to worry, right? Ma Shucha, he says, don't worry, I will take care of it. So whatever best destination he has decided, they will go there. Maybe they need to come back to do more services here, more purification. Can somebody give me an example? Now, this not very much connected with this, but I just want to show you an example of how Lord purifies different devotees differently. Can somebody give me an example of somebody who was very puffed with the fact that they have a lot of money and they can do a lot of charity and ask me whatever you want, you will get everything. And Lord took everything away from them. Very famous example.
The Bali Maharaj Mataji.
Bali Maharaj, right? Bali Maharaj. Who?
Bali Maharaj.
So for him to surrender to the Lord, Atmanivedan, he perfected his life by Atmanivedanam, right? The ninth limb that we often mention in the devotional service, the Navda Bhakti ke 9 अंगों में से Atmanivedan last में बोलते हैं, complete surrender. So to get him to that stage, what did Vaman Dev do? Take everything away from him because he was so puffed up with pride about how much money or this fact that I'm very charitable. Not that he's puffed up with money, but the fact that I'm very charitable. तो ये क्वालिटी का भी एक वो है, प्राइड है, इस क्वालिटी की भी प्राइड है कि मैं कुछ भी दे सकता हूँ जो मुझसे मांगो, दान देने की भी मुझ में बहुत क्षमता है। तो उनको उनकी वो तोड़ दिया अभिमान कि नहीं, दान नहीं दे सकते, तुम दान भी नहीं दे पाए। नाउ देयर इज अ वेरी different example, I don't think it will be easy to guess, of completely opposite situation where somebody has a tinge of pride of their renunciation कि I have nothing, I'm very, मेरे पास कुछ भी नहीं है, और उसको कृष्णा ने सब कुछ दे दिया टू प्योरीफाई हिम। ये थोड़ा सा मुश्किल है क्योंकि ये मैंने थोड़ा कम सुना है ये एग्जाम्पल। सो दिस इज एग्जाम्पल ऑफ सुदामा। So when Sudama came to Krishna, he sensed that in order for him to be purified, he has this tinge of pride कि मैं बिल्कुल impoverished Brahman हूँ, I do not need anything in this, I am not attached to anything in this world, I have no material wealth, and this not having material wealth is also like a point of pride with him. So he gave him everything. So which means Krishna purifies different devotees differently. आपका जो point of pride है या जो जिसमें आपकी ego फंसी है, where you're egocentric, Krishna will purify that aspect. So that is his supreme mercy. That is his that is how he's such a best well-wisher, and we don't need to worry where we go because he will decide where we need to go based on our amount of ego we still have left, amount of anarthas we still have left. So we may be circulating a little more, but if we are spending our life in Krishna consciousness, then we can be carefree, ma shucha, we can be carefree, give up, let it go, don't worry, that we will get the best destination that we deserve. But our duty is to just spend our life in Krishna conscious services and try to do those services, not keeping yourself in center, but keeping devotees and Krishna in center by keeping this mood of selfless service for the pleasure of Vaishnavas, for the pleasure of Lord. And it is very hard to not count your services, to not sing your own glories. But we don't need to be singing our own glories. Krishna already knows. तो ऐसा बोलते हैं कि कोई सर्विस की अगर आप ज्यादा ग्लोरी गाते हो, उसका क्रेडिट लेने की कोशिश करते हो, एक्चुअली you discredit the whole thing. So don't ask for credit for those services, for these things, because you discredit the whole thing. To the extent that you want appreciation, recognition, honor for some services, then to that extent, that service gets discredited. So in this, it seems like the mood is to make a list of services and please yaad rakho. Nahi, Krishna is absolute truth, unlimited. He remembers, he knows. You don't need to remind him. So, okay, that's all I wanted to share. Thank you so much. Anybody else wants to share anything? If not, we can chant one round together. Okay. Thank you so much for joining. Vancha Kautarubhescha Kripa Sindhuve Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Gurve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. Shri Isopanishad ki jai. Jagadguru Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.